So guys, I am a huge fan of the Osmo Action, the original. I have used this everywhere. I've taken it in the ocean, I've strapped it on the hood of my car. In fact, I love it so much, I bought several. So when we go places, me, my wife, and my son, we'll all have one, we'll all gather footage. I mean, they're a lot of fun. So that is why, even though I'm a little late to the game, I picked up the Osmo Action 2. And the reason why I picked it up is because I found it really, really cheap. I'd had my eye on this camera for a really long time, but it was over $500 at one point, and I just couldn't justify that. But when I found it used on Amazon, and Amazon was the shipper, it may have been the seller too, for like 1/3 of the original price, I couldn't resist. And in fact, I went ahead and picked up the dual screen combo and the battery combo. So this one was even cheaper. It was ridiculously cheap, and I just couldn't resist. So I really have nothing to lose. I know this review is like 2 years late, but that's kind of why I'm doing this review now, if that makes sense, because these are cameras I both had my eye on and I thought I would be excited about, and when I finally found a deal I just couldn't resist, I went ahead and jumped on it. So but I want to give you my thoughts, and I want to ask you to stay with me for this, because it takes me a while to build them out, because my first impressions of this camera were not very good, because I was in love with the idea of a tiny little camera that fits in your pocket, and it's so light that you can forget about it. Who doesn't want an action camera that's that small and light? But what I found was, like, the 1080 footage was kind of mushy, and which is fine. I was going to use 4K most of the time anyways, but there were other things that kind of disappointed me with this tiny little unit. Yeah, I can't see myself. I know it's going to overheat in 8 minutes. At least that's what it's telling me, in approximately 8 minutes. And it doesn't have a 1/4-20 mount on it. So in order to get it up to this height, I have to use a special adapter, which is this guy right here. And by the time I have this guy right here to get the 1/4-20 to get it into the tripod, this is almost as big as the regular GoPro, or the regular Osmo Action 1, which I think would do better as far as overheating as well. So yeah, this was the idea I was in love with. I wanted a tiny little camera that would fit in my pocket. Turns out it's on its own, it's severely limited. Overheats quickly, doesn't have particularly good wind rejection, doesn't have extremely long battery life. It's better than like the Insta360 Go 2, but it's not super long. I can't see myself. There's just a lot of problems with it, and what I needed to do was use this, but this makes it not waterproof. So the question is, what would make this better than just using my phone? So if I sound a little beat down there's a good reason. I was disappointed at first. And because why wouldn't I just use my phone? It's always on me. It's more convenient. It's got 3 lenses. I've got a big fat screen I can see myself on. Again, mostly it's just always in my pocket. Or for that matter, why wouldn't I just use the Action 1, which I have 3 of? I mean, it's certainly more straightforward. At this point, it's smaller. It going to be more robust. I don't feel like this is going to break. This I'm not so sure about. So I decided I'm gonna send this back to Amazon. Was past my window. All right, I'm gonna sell it on eBay. Do I really want to do that? Okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do an experiment where for a week I'm gonna get rid of all of my cameras, and this is my camera. I have a side project going on where I use my cameras a lot throughout the day. This is gonna be my camera throughout the day, and instead of focusing on what it doesn't do, I'm gonna figure out a way to make it work. I got an idea. What would I use this for? We'd use this for vlogging. Why don't we make a fake vlog and see how it does under those circumstances, and then make a note of the different features and the way this performs just out in the field, even if it is fake. So here we go, fake vlog. 3, 2, 1. Practice vlog. We're about to go get Ethan. I gotta grab a snack out of the refrigerator, putting the orange juice back, and we are good to Go.
Notice the audio in the next scene, and remember, there's no mic, just the Osmo Action.
Gonna go get Ethan. There's Mom.
And Landon, some kid we've never met, I don't think.
We're gonna meet Landon. We're gonna shut the door and say hi to the dog. Hi, dog. How are you? And we're practice vlogging.
Yeah, 15-year-olds in the back of a sedan with a dog is gonna be funny.
Oh yeah, yeah. Hey, I feel bad for the dog because if we think the dog smells bad, the teenage boys smell worse.
This is true.
So the thing that may or may not be obvious is even though this is a tiny little camera with a tiny little sensor, it looks really good. I mean, I'm really whipping this camera around and the stabilization looks great. So this is the time-lapse feature. It also has a hyperlapse, which probably would have been cooler here, but I used the time-lapse and it turned out great. So if you're wondering about how wide the lens is, this is the standard D-warp, so it's the most narrow. Be great for driving in a car if you're shooting an indoor shot, but there's also an ultra-wide setting, and I'll show you that here in a second. It kind of got me in trouble though.
Okay, this is the ultra-wide. The other one was D-warp, but now this is ultra-wide. Do you feel ultra-wide?
I have a question.
Yes. How's it look?
Were you really wanting to spend time with me and pick up the boy, or were you just trying to test out this 360 camera?
No, this was a total afterthought. I actually did just want to spend time with him. But then I saw my camera and I've been playing with him lately, and I wanted to try it out.
Good.
Because this was an opportunity.
Okay.
See,
you should seize the day.
with
Seize
an
the
ultra wide.
opportunity. That's cute.
Let's see, ultra wide dog. All right, ultra wide dog. And then ultra wide sunroof. This is maybe too wide.
Maybe you should pop out of the ultra wide sunroof and see what happens.
Okay. Hope it doesn't not get knocked off. Ready? We're not going anywhere yet.
So at this point in our fake vlog, I just stuck the camera out the sunroof, and as you can see, it looks really good. That stabilization looks great, and as we go underneath this tunnel here, or excuse me, underneath this bridge, you'll be able to see how it handles exposure adjustments. Pretty smooth, didn't draw any attention to itself. Now, this is the super wide view. If you want to see the standard view, that's what this looks like. This is the view that I use most often. I think it's the one that looks best in most cases, unless you're doing something specifically scenic. But the one thing that I'm noticing is the way this thing clips together with magnets, you might think it might fall off, but it's actually clipped on there really good. I don't think it's gonna fall off. So that's great when you're hanging it out the window. Speaking of which, this camera is great for sticking in small places and getting weird shots that you couldn't get otherwise. But let's be honest, any small camera can do that. But can they do it at 120 frames per second in 4K? I think that's where this camera shines. Which reminds me, here's a mental health tip for you. If you're ever in a bad mood, just watch a duck eat in slow motion. It'll totally make your day. So back to our vlog, we had picked up the kid and it was time to go eat, and I was craving Greek food.
Oh, you want to go to the Pink House?
That's what inspired it.
Okay.
Actually, what inspired it is I really want the meat that's inside a gyro without the rest of the gyro.
Then that should be lashish.
Sheesh. Well, no, I got the last time we went to the Mediterranean house. Yeah.
Did you get one? Okay.
I just got gyro meat.
Sounds good.
Ethan, do you want Greek food?
There's the Kia.
Sure. Let us eat at Hadari's Mediterranean Grill.
This is a fun little restaurant near our house, and it gave us a chance to test out how the Osmo does in low light. One thing I figured out was the screen actually illuminates the menu, so it kind of brightens up its own view, if you know what I mean. It wasn't great in low light, but it wasn't terrible.
Okay, so this is what it looks like in a very dimly lit restaurant, though we are right above the light right there. Ta-da! Okay, bye.
It may have been passable in the restaurant, but at night, not good.
This is what this looks like at dusk. What do you think?
Dusk.
Duska.
Duska.
Let's kiss on camera. Because we're sweet.
So yeah, after a couple of days with this, I was really starting to like this. I will say this, they do get super duper hot, like the hottest I've ever felt a camera get on the outside. I don't think it'll burn you, but it's something to be aware of. In fact, this camera came with this plastic case. I don't know if you can see it or not. This is supposed to extend the runtime. The camera definitely knows it's on because it tells me every time I turn on the camera that it's got the case on. I think what it's doing is it's programming it to accept a higher heat threshold, so it runs a little bit longer, but it's also holding that heat next to the camera. I didn't really mind the hot camera personally. I do like the case though because it's got more of a texture. It's easier to grip. I don't know if it's like I mean, I'd rather have it than not, but I don't think it's like anything to lose sleep over if yours doesn't come with it. As far as the battery pack versus the dual screen combo, the battery combo versus the dual screen combo, I would say just pretend like that doesn't exist. These two are so close in price now. If you're going to get one, get this one. And I'll have links for everything below if you're interested. So just keep that in mind. Two things that I love most about this, and then I'm going to give you my summary. It cannot be overstated how awesome this is. I mean, that is incredible. I mean, instead of having to fiddle with thumb screws, all you do is press these two buttons, and if I get my finger to it, press these two buttons, and it pops right off. You put the same buttons are right here. You press them, it pops right off. You're good to go. I mean, that is just insane. Like, and it's like I said earlier, it is really, well, I say that. Hang on. There we go. It is really on there. That is not going anywhere. So as long as you get it on there right the first time. But what is also great about it is it makes it where if you want to change up your orientation and go to a different tripod or go to a different mount, this works perfectly. Now, my one complaint was, and I should say this came with this little ball head, and I think I mentioned this earlier. The ball head has a sticky side right here, so you can mount this to any flat, smooth surface. Really, really nice. If you just want to wash it off in between, it'll stick forever. I haven't used this very much as just the sticky part, but if you unscrew the sticky part, you do have a 1/4-20 mount right there. I didn't prefer this because I felt like this is kind of tall, so I went on Amazon and bought this little adapter. So this is the small rig magnetic mount, and basically it's pretty obvious what it does. It allows you to mount these dudes on pretty much anything that has a 1/4-20 mount. I think this is a great product. It's $19 or something like that. Totally worth it if you have a bunch of 1/4-20 mounts. And again, I'll put a link to that below. All right. But this mounting system where you're able to swap things out super duper fast, that's probably the best feature of this. The second best is, of course, this is designed to work with DJI's microphone. This is a wireless lav system. And what I love about this, again, this is more money. I mean, this is expensive. Relatively, it's $300. But you pop that in, and then you stick this on your shirt. All right, this is a test of the DJI Osmo Action 2 with an external microphone. I'm using the DJI mic, which is a wireless system that has 2 transmitters, and this is one of the transmitters right there. This is the little receiver unit. It has a USB-C that plugs into the side. I want to see if this does a good job of actually improving the audio quality. The DJI Osmo Action 2 actually has pretty good audio when you pair it with the front-facing screen, which is what I have on it now. Without it, if it's just the camera unit on top, it is very susceptible to wind noise. But with the screen on, it's actually okay. It's certainly better. But I want to see if I can hook this up. I have one of the receivers right here behind this magnet. That my shirt blocks wind that way. I want to see if this sounds any better. All right, how does this sound? Does this sound better? I feel I've got a little indicator saying that I'm getting audio. So yeah, let me know in the comments if you think this is better. So the fact that those work so easily together is one of my favorite features. And then once you pop those back in the box, it's already charging it again. So those are my 2 favorite features about this. I'm going to sum up and give you some of my other pros and cons real quick. Oh, and before I forget, this isn't just for the Osmo Action. It just works great with the Osmo Action. This is a great product in and of itself. I think everybody who makes videos regularly should have one. By far the best lav system. I wish I could go into it. I could talk forever about this. This lav system is amazing. Each one of these receivers has a little mini recorder in it, so as soon as you take it out of the box, it's recording. I just love this thing. It works on an iPhone. It worked for pretty much any camera. So, but that's another topic. So I'm playing with the DJI Memo App. I think that's what it's called. And this is probably my favorite app from a camera company. Connects a lot faster. It takes about 25 seconds the first time. And then now I just turned off my phone completely, closed the app. I did leave the camera on, but to reconnect it took less than 2 seconds. Just press the button and the app immediately recognizes it's connected to the phone. So that's really nice. Everything is so simple, so laid out. If you can work an Apple phone, like if you can work that camera, you can work this. It really doesn't, it's not even worth explaining. So this app is definitely a win in my book, and one of the better things, especially with a little camera like this, where you might want to stick it up in a corner and not be able to see everything. You can see everything on your app. This is nice. Oh, and the other thing it does great is firmware updates. It's the most painless firmware update ever. Like, if you need an update, it tells you, you press a button, the camera and the phone both do their little update, and next thing you know, you're up and running with the new firmware. So yeah, props for that. All right, so when it comes to this camera, here's the thing you have to think about. I made the mistake going in of thinking it was an action camera that was really tiny. It's not. What it is it's a second camera, okay? It's a secondary camera that can also do action stuff when called upon. Okay, so if you think of this as being the primary way you use the camera, and then you only use this, then you have the opportunity to use this and record 4K 120 in a tiny camera that is this small. I mean, my gosh. That's a better way of looking at it, because you need this screen. Once you add this screen, again, the downside is it makes it not waterproof. But the upside is it gives you a bigger battery. It gives you a swappable SD card. It gives you a place to hook up a mic jack. It gives you a speaker. It gives you 3 microphones. So the audio sounds a lot better when this is hooked up than when it's not. This right here is a complete second camera, kind of like what the Canon is trying to do with that PowerShot V10, which again is another thing, but basically a camera that's small enough to keep in your pocket so you don't have to use your phone all the time. That's really what it boils down to. Now, there's things about this camera that I don't like. Some of it is silly stuff. Let me check my notes real quick here so I don't forget anything. Image, I mean, it's a small sensor. It's a little soft on skin tones, which is kind of like the opposite of what an iPhone does. iPhone has really, really crunchy skin tones, so it kind of makes you look older. This is, I would call it more flattering, but it's a much wider lens, so you don't really need a lot of that detail. But yeah, if you want perfect image quality, you need to get like a full frame Sony or Canon camera. Again, it's terrible in low light, but it's an action camera at the end of the day. Tiny sensor camera is not going to do good. It requires an adapter. This is a silly thing, but this is one of the things that bugs me. It requires an adapter or for your SD card slot or a USB-C to offload footage. I've been doing the USB-C to offload footage because it works and it charges the whole unit while I'm offloading. So the downside, and this is why it's a con, super slow. Like really, really slow, like unreasonably slow. So just keep that in mind, but I still use it because it's so convenient. Again, convenience, that's the name of the game, right? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I told you it gets hot. This is another little thing. It breaks up clips, longer clips, into little chunks. And I kind of feel like we're past that in 2023. That's something cameras did, 10 years ago. And I would love it. I would love it if they would update that. And then the other thing that really needs to be updated is when you reformat, okay, when you reformat this, it starts over the numbering. So if you don't rename them, there's a possibility you're going to have a bunch of files called 0001 DJI or whatever. I forget the naming structure. It starts over. It doesn't sound like it's a big deal until you actually start messing with it. And I think that's like another one of those, that's an old school thing. It's ridiculous. It needs to be updated. Probably my biggest pet peeve. Breaking up the clips into longer clips into smaller clips. I don't like that, and I don't like that there's not a way to make it continuous numbering after you format. If you format, it's starting over with 001. Other than that, I really like this. You just got to keep in mind, this is what you got. This is your camera right here. This is it. And then when you need to go underwater, when you need to record 120 in a tiny spot where you couldn't get any other camera, you've got it. So that's my thoughts on this after playing with it for almost a week. And I'm really glad I did, because I kind of fell in love with it. And I didn't expect that. Plus, guys, it's so freaking cheap right now. So, I mean, the new Osmo Action 4s are out. They're $500 for the Action Combo or whatever. Probably a better camera overall. I mean, certainly newer. But it's $499, and I got this for, I think it was $185. Again, it was used, so keep your eye out for them. You find deals like that. But yeah, I would buy it again. I would not buy this one again, just so you know. I'll have links of everything below. Thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this, hit the like button, and we will see you in the next one.